this is djAUDIONICS, and in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make a house track. Okay, so this is my recent song called Return. It's available for streaming on Spotify, YouTube, all that. The link will be in the description. But let's get into the tutorial. So the song starts out like this. Very ambient with the background rain and this ambient sample. But then it builds into a quick little build up here. Only about 8 bars. Sorry, 4 bars. Okay, so the first thing in this is these chords. So the song is in the key of B minor. So it starts with a B minor chord, then an A major, F sharp minor, another F sharp minor, back to B minor, A major, F sharp minor, and G major, sorry. And then it's got what I'm pretty sure is a suspending chord, but I'm not 100% sure. I just put it there because it sounded good. Now the bass plays the bass notes of the chords. We've got a little rain sample here, and this atmospheric sample. This drone sample, not sample, sorry. And this ARP, which plays quite frequently throughout the song, which is just playing the chord of B minor using a patch from GMS. And then we've got a granular sound, which I'm a massive fan of granular synthesis, if you can't tell. And that's just playing the chords, I'm pretty sure. It looks like a slightly simplified version, but... And then moving on to the build-up, we've got the chords, but it's got a different tempo. And also, it's hard to hear in the actual pattern mode, but the pluck decay length, which is a knob inside of Harmless, is being modulated, so it has a less of a plucky sound and gradually increases to be more sustained throughout the build-up and into the drop. So again, we've got the bass sound, some build-up drums, pretty simple. It's just a kick layer with a snare, and then it increases in speed. This riser, which is actually a default sample in FL Studio, if I'm correct. Pigments. This is a preset, I'm pretty sure. I didn't actually like the way it turned out, so I've turned it down quite quiet in the final mix. And what we've got here is the drop melody. It's played in piano, but it's gradually increasing in volume with this automation clip to help build up to the actual drop, which is the whole point of a build-up, without just throwing you straight into the deep end. Now when it comes to the drop, we've got the chords playing with the bass again, and a piano bass, which is also gives it that house vibe. Again, the chords have got that very typical house tempo. And we've got some random strings playing here, which I feel like just gives the song a bit of texture, because it's not just playing the whole time, which in my opinion makes it a bit repetitive. It's playing the bass notes of the chords, but it's not playing them all the time. So it helps keep things fresh, in my opinion. And the drums is just a simple 4 on the floor beat. It's very common. It sounds like this. And on to the next repetition. We've got a bit of changes here. We've got this pluck reverb sound, which is actually made in 3x OSC. So, since came out in 2000 and it still works really well. So, just goes to show how good how it's not super advanced, but it has its uses. Like I use it for almost all of my sub bass sounds because it's compatible with the FL Studio slide notes, so I use it quite often. And then we've also got a bass guitar happening here, and the melody from the piano is also layered with this little sound. A quick little tip here, I don't know if any of you know this, but a way I like to use to create melodies is I'll copy and paste my chords into the pattern where the melody is held, and I'll click Option or Alt M, and that will mute the piano chords, oh sorry, just any chords. It'll mute the chords, so you can't hear them when you're editing in pattern mode, but you can still see them. So generally, it will sound good if it's playing a note that's the same as the chords. Not like you can go out of it like I did here and it'll still sound good, but it'll almost always sound good when it's playing the same notes as the chords. So that's a little trick I use. Again, we've got the random strings, and towards the end, in this little transitional part, we've got a bit of a change in the drums. And this little drone thing that's playing, it actually stops quite quickly because it's got a very long reverb, so it kind of just washes into the next part. We've got this B minor scale up, which is just playing part of it. So it just descends throughout the whole scale of B minor. And this little transitional effect here. Again, we've got an arpeggiation here, which sounds like this. Pretty sure this, yep, it has a vocoder on it. It's not actually got anything sidechained to it, but I just like the effect it gives the sound. A bit of texture and character. We've got the piano chords playing again, but this time they are just kind of very basic tempo. They don't have any house tempo to them. This one does though, so it's layered with one that does. Again, we've got the melody from the piano and the synthesized melody, and a granular sound. It sounds like that. Now in this part, we've got the B minor scale playing throughout the whole part, this whole section, and we've got a little bit of a riser going up into the next section. Now this part increases in energy a bit. I feel like mainly due to the drums and the bass. So we've got the same piano chords with the tempo thing going on, the bass and the arpeggiation, which I've played before. Now this part I've made the pattern unique, and it's got 2 octaves of the melody. I feel like the reason I did that was mainly because this part doesn't have much going on, but it's still quite high energy. So in order to fill out the mix a bit, it sounds better with 2 octaves of the piano than 1. So that's why I did that. And now in this part, this is where it gets a bit interesting. It's got an 808 playing. The drums get a bit more intense. There's these random little percussion things happening. And also, when I was making this, I don't know if it was just my brain playing tricks on me or if it was an audio bug or something, but I just heard this little click in this part. So I tried to accentuate that with this little click sample that just goes on like, it almost sounds like a delay effect because I've dropped the volume slightly on each one, which it sounds like this. It's really subtle in the final mix because I turned it down quite a lot, but if you notice it once, you'll notice it every single listen. So that's that part. In the next part, we've got this little syncopated thing. I don't know if it's technically called syncopated, but it's not perfectly on grid. But I just feel like it gives it some character. And it's something you might not hear in the final mix until you notice it, and then you won't be able to unhear it. That's something that I like to sprinkle those little details in my songs to give it a bit of character. Also, these hi-hat samples. Again, something you probably won't hear. I wasn't a fan with how it sounded, so I toned it down quite a bit, but I left it in there just as a little Easter egg. Again, there's a B minor art playing, which sounds like this. Using a patch from GMS. I really like the GMS synthesizer, and it's included with FL Studio, so it's not a separate purchase, which is nice. Oh, we've got, I called them piano stairs. Just descends like this. Just to help ease the transition into the next section. Now in this part, we've got the up playing again, some chords, no tempo thing going on here, bass guitar, and a Pigments thing. Now this part goes into the build up, which is the part of the song I'm most proud of. I'll just let you listen. Okay, so that sounds like that. So what we've got going on here is, this is actually the most recent thing I added in because I felt like it was lacking something, and it turns out it was lower frequency, so I added this in last. Just this little bass sound from Pigments. We've got some build-up drums, which sound like this. Is just a kick and a snare playing on top of each other. We've got the piano chords, which playing with the house rhythm. The pluck reverb sound, which is made with 3x OSC. These chords from Harmless, which has the, pluck decay length is automated. Bass guitar, pigments, and these little strings, which I think sound kind of cool. And fun fact, this is actually a very old sample that comes with every edition of FL Studio. So it doesn't sound quite realistic, but it doesn't really matter because it's not something you're going to be paying attention to in the final mix. But it just helps give it depth. It just goes to show you don't have to have expensive plugins to make good sounding music. Also, this riser sound is from GarageBand. So, because I'm on a Mac here, what I did is I went into GarageBand and I dragged it into an empty project, rendered it out, and just dragged that song into FL Studio as a riser sample. So that's a little fun fact because I really like the sound of it, so why not use it? There's this little pad here, again using pigments. Yeah, there's a bunch of risers. There's a tape stop at the end. These clicking samples, and also the reverb pluck thing has been reversed, rendered out, reversed, to help. I feel like it builds tension. That's the purpose of it. Then going into the drop, it sounds like this. Up. We've got a 4 on the floor house beat going on here. We've got the house chords with from the synthesizer, bass going on, piano chords with again the same house rhythm, piano bass, plucky reverb, bass guitar, and 2 types of melodies, the synthesized one and the piano one, and hi-hats, the random string sounds, and some more strings. The pad plays in the transition, which goes on to probably my second favorite part of the song. This is really where I went all out. So I've done a lot of chopping up using the slice function and muted certain parts of it. So what I've done is I've muted every part after the snare, just to help make this part feel more glued and cohesive. And I've also added a vocoder to, I'm pretty sure it's the master bus. Yes, I have. Just because it gives it texture and it helps it sound a bit more dynamic, I think. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same part, but just with some extra stuff like this, the riser plays in the little breaks. Then it goes back to something similar, but with a different beat. This is a very typical drum type thing that you'd see in a lot of EDM. I use it in a lot of other songs that aren't house genre, but I felt like it went well in this part. And now for the little bit towards the end, we've got the bass, the chords, a piano bass, pluck reverb, bass guitar. It's pretty much this, but without the drums and the different melody. And we've got the drone coming in, and the pluck thing, the clicky noise. And in the final part, we've got the bass guitar and the chords, and it just holds the last chord for a long time with a little bit of a tempo automation down and volume automation. Yeah, so that's how I made my song Return, which is a house track, and it is available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, any streaming service you can think of. The link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video or found it entertaining or informative or helpful, make sure to like and please consider subscribing, as it really does help me out as an artist and as someone who was going to make more tutorials in the future. So thank you. Have a good day.